Hey,
Hi.
hey, how's your day going?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm
Good.
just trying to get situated here. Great. Okay,
I had
sounds
my
good. I've
headset
got
mic
this.
cut off.
Oh, yeah, no, that's the thing I noticed too in these lives is that when Instagram cuts the screen, the preview is always like way smaller. So now I'm trying
Yeah.
to change things up, but I hope that will be better. I'm using like this little tripod and it's lasted me through all of these Q&As, but
There you go.
going forward, it's definitely going to be needing a replacement for something more stable. So,
Am I your last IG live?
no, I have one more, and I'm totally blanking right now on her name. I know that you know her as well. Oh my goodness, she runs Confessions of a Rec Therapist.
Yes. I'm totally blanking on
Ashley.
her name. Ashley. I had a feeling it was Ashley.
Yes, yes, I knew
Awesome.
that too, but I don't know her personally. So, and I knew there was two Ashleys as well. So,
Yes. And I think they're best friends actually. Or at
are
least
they?
close.
Okay,
Yeah. So that's
that's
fun.
awesome. Yeah, I think Ashley A actually said that this weekend as well that they were pretty good friends. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I love
Oh,
it.
here. I have to go back down here. Um, yeah, so everybody, this is Crystal. A
Hello.
little bit of a different intro. Why don't you go ahead and tell us who you are and
Sure. So I'm Crystal. I run the Instagram page Rec My Heart Out. I'm also a incoming fourth year Rec and Leisure student at the University of Waterloo, which
okay.
is so exciting to say. Finally, after so many years, I'm one step closer to being done, so that's great. I also work in long-term care as a recreation therapist, specifically on a memory care floor. So I support individuals living with dementia and Alzheimer's of various stages in their recreation and leisure activities on the floor. Um, what else? Yeah, I've been doing recreation for about 7 years now.
Okay.
Municipal recreation is where I started. So, summer camp, March break camp, and sessional programs. But then from there, I went on to working in long term care for about 2 years. And it's been a great time. Minus, COVID and everything like that. It puts a damper on on anyone. But, despite all of that, I really love the population that I work with, and it's really shaped my future too. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's really good. Um, I've heard the term memory care a few times now, and I'm not actually sure what that is. So I was wondering if you could explain that a
Sure.
little.
So essentially, memory care, it's a specific approach to residential care, and
Okay.
it's specifically for individuals living with dementia and Alzheimer's. So everything, all the care that you do is from, person-centered, strength-based, autonomy honoring kind of, framework. So, for example, if residents like we want to honor residents' identity and we want to honor their choice. So, if residents aren't comfortable with, showers or feeding or anything like that, it's really about arranging the environment so that they are at the forefront of everything. And it's just because, with dementia and with Alzheimer's, it really takes a lot of your autonomy away, unfortunately. And so memory care just aims to maintain that and ensure that, they're still heard and their dignity is still honored. And so because they have dementia, the approach to care has to be a bit different to ensure that we respect all of those things.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've heard the term a few times, and I know it's mostly long-term care based.
Yeah.
Um, that's really interesting to know. Actually, I didn't know that. So.
Yeah. So it's really good because everything that we do, we make sure that it's very much person centered. So we want to arrange ourselves, even with recreation programs, in a way that any of the programs that they're doing, we're not focusing on, necessarily introducing new skills at this point, but we're focusing more on strengthening and maintaining the skills they already have, which also improves their self-esteem as well. So it's a nice win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really great approach to go at things.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I know that you had arranged the rec therapy meeting, and you were, and maybe you can share a little bit with everybody watching as well. But I cannot stop thinking about that wagon, and how much I really, really want to implement that. Like I just
Yes.
can't. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that, and what that looks like in your your
So
program.
so I had a recreation therapy get together. Was it last week already or was it this week? It was
I,
last week because
it was
today's
last week,
Tuesday.
yeah.
So I had a recreation get together, and I, just wanted to have a bunch of fun with other rec therapists. And we were talking about, recreation activities. And I was saying that at my work, we have a bicycle with a wagon that attaches to the back, and we're able to bring residents in that wagon around the facility, the outside of the facility. It just so helps that we pretty much work in the country. We work in Guelph, and there is just a lot of open space around. So it's a great environment for us to be able to do something fun like that. But it's really funny to see how residents respond to it, because some of them are super okay with it and others are super hesitant and just not at all having a good time. But we we still try, but it's super funny. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to ride it because I don't know how to actually ride a bike. I know I'm 23 years old and I don't know how to ride a bike. It's fine. I've That ship has sailed. But it's fun to watch my colleagues take residents around in it. They're either super excited or super unimpressed with us, and you won't know until you stick them in the wagon. So it's
So
just
I
a fun
have two
event.
thoughts with that. One, your documentation must be incredible. Um, just like after that program, like taking notes off that, that would just be really, really something. And then also, we're gonna need to set up a program for you to teach you how to ride.
I know, right? Oh my gosh, we can work together and create some goals. No
Yes, we will start
problem.
off slow.
Yeah, 2 times a week. No, it's too bad. I always see people on their bikes, or during the summer, and there's farmers markets and
Yeah.
people are riding their bike to the market, and I'm like, that's great. I drove here even though it's down the street because I don't know how to ride a bike. So too bad.
It's not too late. We got
Yeah,
this.
we got it. We can do it. We can do hard things.
So one of my questions, I know you kind of already briefly touched on it, was 7 years ago. But when did you get involved with recreation therapy?
So, with recreation therapy specifically, it took me a few years to get into this field. So, when I graduated high school, I went to school to become an educational assistant, and I worked with the school board for quite a bit. But what I realized was children and adolescents just weren't the population for me. It was the first major realization. And also, I still felt like something was missing. I knew that I was, working as an educational assistant and applying the knowledge and experience that I had, but it wasn't in a setting that necessarily made me feel good at the end of the day.
Right.
So I was doing some research, and I honestly went on to Google and I typed in like recreation therapy jobs, and I searched through Indeed, and a lot of them were looking for designation with Artro, because I'm from Ontario,
Right.
or recreation therapy degrees. And when I did more research, I found therapeutic recreation. And honestly, it felt like a huge sigh of relief because it was something that I had been looking for so long, but I couldn't quite put a word to it, right?
Right.
So I went into my first year, and I was still working in municipal rec. At this point, I was a specialist, so I was kind of, coaching new staff and providing, I guess, kind of backstage support to families. And I just realized that I needed a change of environment because it had been 7 years, or at that time about 5 years. And so I again just went on Indeed and I typed in recreation therapy, and long-term care popped up. It was a summer student position, and I just applied to see, if I would love it. And it ended up being, such a good choice at the end of the day, because now I don't really see myself anywhere else.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, it's been an awesome decision. Since then, I've worked in 2 other long-term care homes, and I've been working at my current one for about a year now. And I'm like the happiest here, which is good. That's something about, you know, any workplace, you kind of, sometimes you have to shuffle around until you
Yeah.
find the one for you. But I'm super happy with this field. I feel like there's so many opportunities, there's so many avenues. You know, I'm just getting in. At first, on a bigger scale, I wanted to work in gerontology. Now it's kind of condensed where I'm like, I want to work in memory care with dementia and Alzheimer's. So there's so many opportunities and so many different avenues you can take with rec therapy that, you know, if there's anyone else who loves rec but doesn't really know what to do with it, I would honestly suggest going into TR, because there's just so many opportunities or so many avenues you can take. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And this is not sponsored, but Indeed is definitely is definitely the number one place to go for jobs, like completely
yeah,
unsponsored, but I love Indeed.
yeah.
I actually got my job at my adult day program from there as well, and I think the position was like an activity aide,
Mhm.
but it was really just washing dishes and then kind of like helping with the games and stuff.
Yeah,
And I had a little bit of understanding of what rec therapy was, but
right.
like never, did I expect that it would become what it was. And yeah, I've been there ever since, and it's been like 3 years now. And yeah, I don't even look back because it was just such
Yeah,
a great opportunity, and it's just such a
absolutely.
rewarding job, right?
It really is a rewarding job. And, you know, another thing that I love about it is we are still very much a small field, an emerging field, and people really don't know um, the capacity, the full capacity of the work we do. So being able to advocate on behalf of the profession as well is something that brings me a lot of joy. You
Yeah.
know, especially working in long-term care, we're working in interdisciplinary fields. Shameless plug, I made a post about that. But anyway, so we're working in interdisciplinary fields. And so like not every profession knows what the role of rec is. For some of them, they just think we're there to give residents something to do, but there's so much more that goes into it. So being able to, you know, bring that perspective as well and really enlighten someone so that they can go forward with a better perspective of what we do is so rewarding as well.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Giving that understanding of what we're actually doing during the day, and what benefit we're actually bringing to the workplace and into healthcare, and it makes a difference. And I think that like you said, with when you're working in interdisciplinary teams, like not everybody on that team is going to understand or respect your perspective. So I think
exactly.
you know these conversations and everything that you're doing on Instagram, and we're trying hard to advocate and get it out there and help people understand what it is that we're doing, and that
Right.
we're not just playing games for our own fun. Like, yeah, we might
Exactly.
enjoy our jobs, but like,
You know, everything's structured, everything has a meaning and a purpose. So that's it. That's the key takeaway.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What would you say is the best part about what you do every day,
Oh, I don't know. That's a hard question.
besides all of
I
it?
know, right? You know what? Hmm. Let me think. I honestly have such a good time at my job. um, but if I had to say one of the best, I think there's 2 things. Can I cheat and give 2 answers?
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it. This is
I would say the
unstructured.
shortest answer is, you know, being able to come to the table, come to our group meetings, and bring new program ideas, bring new approaches. I'm super immersed in like research. And so being able to bring what I've learned on my own back to my team so that we can improve the quality of service that we provide is probably one of
Okay.
my favorite aspects of the job. But the other one is, you know, just giving, again, honoring that autonomy for my residents and seeing them excuse me, seeing them truly thrive. doing something that they enjoy and something that makes them feel accomplished is
Hmm.
also, as cliche as it sounds, when you are working with a resident who, you know, is struggling to find something that makes them feel accomplished or feel like they're, you know, enjoying their experience, and you finally pinpoint that and you see the gratitude and just excitement in their eyes, that's something that you can't even describe. You just have to, you know, experience for yourself. So holding on to those memories and just being able to have that opportunity to work so closely with individuals that's definitely my favorite piece. I actually remember, so my work had an outbreak, a COVID outbreak.
Yeah, you were
So
saying.
yeah, it was pretty spectacular. Spectacular is not the word, but it was pretty ridiculous. And, you know, so we had to do one-to-one programs. We weren't able to do group programs, understandably. And so I really took that time to get to know my residents on a different level. You know, no assessments, no family's point of view, no, you know, PSW point of view, just me getting to know my resident. And I had one resident who used to be a teacher, and I asked him, you know, what's your favorite thing about being a teacher, or what advice would you give to someone who is just starting teaching? And he gave me some awesome advice. He was like, you know, lead with love, do what you do because you love it. And we just
Oh,
had this awesome conversation going back and forth. And at the end, I had to go, and I was like, you know, thank you for this great conversation. And he was like, no, thank you for treating me like a human. And honestly, that is something that I take with me all the time. And even during those really difficult parts of my job, I remember that I have the power to treat someone as a human being, something that we should all aim to do. So, yeah, I kind of went
that's
on a
so
tangent,
sweet.
but yeah,
No, that's so sweet. And it's those moments that I find like really stay with you too, right?
they do.
Even if, you know, it's just a simple sentence, but it's such a powerful statement that, you know, you made that impact and you were able to reach them like that, right?
Yeah. And not only did it impacted me too, like it was, you know, such an awesome opportunity to connect. So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What before you were doing the working in the school board, what were you doing before that?
So before then, I was just working in municipal recreation,
Oh,
doing programs, so sessional programs, and then also camp as well.
okay.
So that was pretty much my life for
Yeah.
a really long time. And then, you know, you get close with families. And so I started to do some contract work, contract respite work as well with families. But yeah, I was living the dream as a camp counselor. It was a
I
good
worked
time.
for a short period as a camp counselor as well. It was at a literacy camp for you know, younger children and young teens that struggled with reading. And
Right.
I learned very, very quickly with that experience and also with a volunteering position that working with teenagers and kids was just not on my radar. I was not gonna succeed with that. So I definitely landed with seniors and older adults, and I don't think that I'll ever go
Mhm.
back.
I was
Yeah.
so intimidated at first by long-term care,
Yeah.
but being like the place for me. I honestly can't see myself anywhere else.
Yeah. I actually found myself really intimidated with the
Oh,
teenagers, and
me.
I don't know what's that? Am I
Sorry, I
frozen?
couldn't hear you for a sec, but we're good now.
Oh, okay.
All good.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually really, really intimidated by the teenagers at first. And I don't know if that's just because they just have so much energy and so many opinions, but
Yeah. No, it can
yeah,
be
no, I
intimidating for sure.
for sure. Um, do you have any advice for, and I'm going to take this, any new recreation therapy students?
Um, so I've been thinking a lot about this question since you told me about it. And I have, sorry, I don't know if you can hear my mom calling out to people in the background. She's super loud, full disclosure. So I'll just say that now. Anyway,
Okay.
one solid piece of advice that I would give to incoming TR students is one, don't get too caught up in the title of rec therapist. Sometimes I think that it can be intimidating when you have a word like therapist attached to your job title because you feel like for me personally, I had this pressure to go in and kind of like fix everything, have a solution for everybody, leave knowing that every single person's issue or challenge was solved. And that puts a lot of unnecessary pressure, and it kind of takes away from the experience of just being a new student and being able to learn new concepts and just taking time as it goes, right? So
Yeah.
even starting to work in a rec therapy role in first year was super intimidating for me because I honestly didn't feel like I even had the core concepts to be working in that position. But what I've come to realize is that if you have determination, if you have passion for what you do, you'll learn those things. So just take a step back, take it one step at a time, and you'll be okay. So
I love
that's
that. Don't try
probably,
to solve anything, right?
yeah, that's probably the best piece of advice is just, I know it's so easy to get caught up in what you want to do and what you're not doing and all that stuff, but who I am now 3 years later, as opposed to who I was when I started, it's completely different. And I'm really grateful for that, but I'm also really grateful for every challenge that I've also had because it allowed me to grow. So take your time and make connections if you can. And don't be afraid to reach out to professors and all of that stuff. If you have, research interests, if you have questions, comments, concerns, they love that stuff, and that's what they're there for. So just try your best to fully immerse yourself in the experience.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Connect as
Yeah,
much as you can, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. I know you spoke a little bit about challenges, but I was wondering if you could share what your biggest learning curve has been so far, or your biggest reality check anyway.
Let me see. That's a really good question. I would have to say my biggest learning curve has been COVID-19. Excuse me. Oh my
Yeah, I
God,
guess
did I
actually
choke?
getting COVID too,
Okay,
right?
Chels said, hey, ladies.
Yeah.
I choked as soon as I said COVID-19 because it makes me emotional.
Yeah.
My biggest learning curve has definitely been COVID. Um, you absolutely do not learn in school how to manage a pandemic, regardless of what field you're in. Whether you're a doctor is what we've seen, whether you're a nurse, no matter what, this has been a really trying time for a lot of fields, a lot of people, including myself. And so after we experienced our outbreak, there was a period of time where I really questioned if I was working in the right field because for a while I fell out of love with it, right? Fell out of love with the job. And that came along with me just trying to heal emotionally and physically from this entire experience.
Yeah.
So that took a bit of time for me. And I think that falling out of love helped me to like fall in deeper, if that makes sense, when I fell back into it. I kind of had to pull myself out of that kind of space, that really thick space of like, is this what I really want to do, and is this where I see myself? Because what I realized was that being in the outbreak, our residents had experienced significant decline cognitively.
Yeah.
And I went back into that like therapist hat, and I was like, I can't fix this. That was the first thing that came to my mind was I can't fix this. I don't know what to do. And because of that, I sort of wanted to give up. But it took me, talking to friends, talking to professors, and just kind of digging deep within myself and realizing that I can't fix everything, but the least that I can do is, show up, take care of myself, show up, and just be the best that I can be for these residents. But it was kind of a challenge for for a little bit of time there. And sometimes it still is a challenge because COVID fatigue is real and we're all super tired. So yeah, I'd have to say COVID is still the biggest learning curve for me, for sure.
The never-ending learning curve.
Yeah. I hope
Yeah.
it ends soon because I've had it.
I think that I totally agree with you. COVID has been, the hardest thing that I've definitely ever had to deal with as well, as far as work goes. And as much as, as a profession, we're talking about burnout and exhaustion from this, I think that we need to talk about it more, especially when you have residents and clients that you're supporting that are asking you questions that you don't have the answers to, and I don't know if you feel this way as well, but I feel like I used to always have an answer for everything, and even if it was kind of bent a little bit or maybe it wasn't right in line, I always had an answer, and,
Right.
and now I have nothing to say. I don't know the answer to any of this. And,
Yeah.
When you're dealing and helping people with dementia and different, you know, diseases and things like that, it's complicated, and not having an answer just makes more confusion sometimes, right?
Absolutely. It's definitely hard because, like you said, questions like, when is this going to end? When can I see my family? Those are
Right.
questions that we don't have the answers to, but we
Yeah.
continue to hear them, right? And so it's really hard for sure, and it can take a toll because you want to know, you want to believe that this whole situation is coming to an end, but like everything is up in the air and you really don't know. So
Yeah.
that's definitely hard. And more recently, that's something that I've been trying to highlight on my Instagram page is my personal experiences with burnout and the challenges that I faced, with mental health going through a pandemic, because it has not been easy. And when you have people depending on you in any sort of capacity, it can take a huge toll. And so I've just been struggling a lot with like compassion fatigue, and things like that. And so I've been trying to highlight it on my Instagram page because I want other people, other rec therapists, whoever it is that follows us, to know that these are totally valid experiences to be having, especially during a time like this. So
Yeah, it's especially apparent. I don't know if you find this as well in those conversations that you're having every single day. It's the same
yeah.
conversation. And I just want to jump back to the comment that you made about decline and noticing those really unfortunate changes that, your residents and your clients are going through and experiencing due to being isolated for a year.
Right.
Like, some of our clients have quite literally not left the house, even to go to the grocery store or to go to Tim Hortons or something. They have
It
not left
froze.
their house
Hello?
for, oh,
Sorry, it froze for a second there. Sorry.
that's okay. Where did I lose you?
You were just saying that some of our residents, haven't left their room or haven't left their space in a really long time.
Yeah. Yeah. So just like over a year, not even to go to the grocery store or to go to Tim Hortons. They have not left their group home, and, noticing that decline when you are having those conversations is really, really hard to manage and to get through those, repeated conversations, right?
Yeah. Because it's almost like, you finish the conversation with one person, but then the next person is feeling that way
Yeah.
too. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I've kind of put out one fire, I guess you could say that, but then now I'm on to the next, is how it feels sometimes.
Right.
Which can really be hard for us because, we're compassionate individuals and we want to ensure that people are doing well. But with that being said, we only have so much control over that. So
Yeah, I find myself consistently checking my attitude and my tone. Um,
yes.
we're running a lot of, I want to say virtual, and I know that we've kind of chatted about this, but they're not virtual programs, they're programs over the phone. So
Right.
I'm running a couple of those a week, and it's the same conversations every week. And I just recently started trying to listen to myself more actively. Um, and try to be more understanding about the fact that, okay, these folks don't know either,
Right.
it's our jobs to be empathetic, but it's
Yes.
so challenging right now, right?
Yeah. And so, during those times, it's so important for us to identify with coping toolkit. For me, something that I've shared with a lot of my team members. So I'm trained in mental health first aid. And one of the things that we learned about was creating like a coping toolbox. So just anything that helps you to manage these challenging emotions associated with the job that we do, anything that makes you feel better, brings you any sort of, relief, whether it be temporary or whatever, you stick it in this like pretend toolbox. And so sometimes I'm at work and I'm like, okay, I need to open the toolbox for a sec because something needs a bit of tweaking, needs a bit of
Yeah,
tightening, and I need some, extra assistance. So that's
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
been helping me, is creating that coping toolbox. Some things that I do are, taking a step back, hiding in the storage room, full disclosure, chatting with friends, going down and chatting with coworkers and things like that. It's really important for us to have a safe space to be able to, reflect on the things that have been hard for us
yeah,
throughout the day and throughout this entire experience. So
yeah. Definitely puts an importance on having that strong dynamics with your team and everything,
for
right?
sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
during COVID.
Yeah, especially during COVID. We have to stay strong together as much as we can.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me today. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to share. I know that you have some upcoming lives. I don't know if you want to share what
Yeah,
that.
I have one upcoming live with Kate from What the Rec. We're going to be and that's on May 13th at 7 p.m. And we're going to
Nice.
be talking about gerontology, hospice care, and leisure. Um, yeah, I have a couple questions for her about, self-care, what it's like to work in hospice, how to, debunk any sort of myths surrounding hospice and palliative care and gerontology and all that fun stuff. So it's just going to be an open conversation going back and forth about, I guess, aging and leisure and all those fun things.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good. I'm super excited to see you in that.
Thanks. I'm excited too. It'll be the first live that I am actually hosting myself, so that should be interesting because I'm not really like a technology kind of gal, but we're gonna have to figure it out, Laura. That's all we can
You got it.
do.
Message me if you need any help with that. I'm
Thanks. I
pretty
might
much
need a
in now.
tutorial. Maybe like the night before, we'll just do a little run through.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you too. You have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, you too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.